Today, we're retouching portraits using a little secret that I've been using for my own images since earlier this year, Evoto AI. If you spend a lot of time retouching your portraits using high-end techniques like dodge and burn, frequency separation, and contouring, this program will give you comparable results with just a single click. We're going to edit a few photos from some recent portrait sessions, and along the way, I'll show you some of my favorite features within the program. If you want to follow along with me, download the program using the link in the description, and you'll get some free credits so that you can see how it works with your own images. With that said, big thanks to Evoto for sponsoring this video and hooking up my community with some free credits to try this out. Let's get to it. We're going to work with 3 portraits that I've taken over the course of the last few months. And each of these portraits I've picked out specifically because I want to show you certain features within Evoto that I promise you are going to save you a bunch of time. So starting off here with this photograph of Caitlin, the first thing that I want you to notice is the overall layout of Evoto AI. It's very similar to what you might use in a program like Lightroom or Capture One. You have a lot of the same tools, and then you have a lot of AI stuff that helps to make the process really easy. So if you have a photograph that you want to make some basic corrections to, this first little color adjustments tab here on the right gives you access to a lot of those features where you can change the white balance, your tones, which includes your contrast, exposure, highlights, shadows, all of that good stuff. Your curves, if you want to adjust your photograph using curves, your HSL, hue, saturation, and luminance sliders. You can go into your color grading, detail grain, lens corrections, all the same stuff that you would use within Lightroom. You have access to be able to use that. In this case with this photograph, I'm not going to use any of these things because this is a JPEG photo. A lot of it has already been pre-processed in camera, and this is an out of the camera JPEG. I haven't done any retouching to it at this point, but it looked good straight out of camera. It just needed a little bit of extra cleanup here. So one of the first things that I could tell you is the hair. I don't know about y'all, let me know in the comments if you agree, but retouching hair is like the bane of my existence. I hate doing it. It takes forever. It's hard to get a good clean result. And what's awesome with this program is that with one click, we're gonna be able to fix that too. So let's get started on this image. First things first, we're not gonna make any adjustments here. We're gonna go straight to portrait retouching. And when you go to that portrait retouching tab, you're gonna see that there's a bunch of different options that you can further adjust. But before we do that, we're gonna select a preset. And the preset, because we're talking about high-end portrait retouching, they actually have a high-end preset, which works amazingly well. So I'll go ahead and click that to get things kicked off. And you're gonna see that right out of the gates, just selecting that high-end preset, this already looks a lot better. Here's the before, and here's the after. So you can see it's brightened up the skin. And for those of you who are portrait retouching aficionados, you see that there's some dodge and burn that has been applied to this image, and it was able to do it with one click. We'll zoom in here really closely so you can see what it's doing to the skin. Here's the before, and then here's the after. So it's doing a good job of picking up a lot of the blemishes, any kind of blemishes, which Caitlin has great skin to begin with. But it's brightening up the skin, and it's just kind of doing the same thing with the hair and to the arms. I mean, the dodge and burn alone is worth its weight in gold with this program. Skin is looking really good, but we can do some further adjustments. And we were talking about the hair, and we can go here to this hair section, and you're gonna see that the remove stray hairs is in beta currently at the time of me recording this. But check out how awesome this works. So I'm gonna put this to the max just to see what it does. It's currently at 0. We're gonna bring it up to 100. I mean, seriously, like, let's zoom in here so you can take a look at this. So here's all of the stray hairs that we're dealing with in the JPEG, the original, and there it is after. And you can see it's done a really good job. Here's the top. Oh, whoa, hold on. Check that out. There's the before, there's the after. And again, it's doing this with one little drag of the slider, and you could actually make further adjustments, but you know, as I look at that, I mean, dang, that looks pretty good, right? Skin has been done, hair has been done. And again, I pushed one button, move one slider, and we've already got something that looks pretty good. We could go into it and further tweak and adjust these things, by the way. We can go into the skin retouching tab, and here you'll find that dodge and burn slider. It's currently set to 50, and that's what was applied by the preset. If you wanted to do more or less dodge and burn, you could actually just adjust it with that slider. I actually like the way that 50, that preset worked, because it's not super over the top to where it makes the person's skin look like plastic. It actually looks pretty good to me. So one of the other things that I like to do, and this tool is also in beta, but the skin radiance slider is also really cool. If I take this slider and just kind of dial it up, you'll see that it will basically just kind of add radiance to the skin. It brightens it up even more. And so we'll take it to the max so you can see that that's probably definitely too much. But you could bring it up to something like 25, for example, for the purposes of this image. We'll do before and after. And you can see that it just kind of brings a little bit of extra attention to the skin. This probably is still too much. But again, you could tweak this to your own taste and basically get it to look exactly the way that you want it to look. I think that's pretty subtle. Going to maybe 10 or 11 looks pretty good. And again, you could also change the color temperature of the skin as well. So if you wanted to give somebody a tan, you totally could give them a little bit of extra warmth in the skin by just adjusting the temperature. And what's cool is you're going to notice that it's only adjusting the temperature of the skin tones. It's not doing it to the whole photo. It's just crazy. Like, it just saves so much time when it comes to retouching a portrait. So this particular image here, this is the before, here's the after. Really quick and easy to do this particular photograph. If you had, let's say, multiple images from this same session, same location that had the same settings, you could actually just copy and paste, and you could actually sync the adjustments that you made to this photograph and do it across multiple images. We're not doing multiple images from this set, but that is something that you could do, which is really cool. We're gonna move on to this next photograph here. To me, like, the lighting was perfect. Masumi, always great to work with. Check out how quick it is to retouch this photo. We'll go back again to that high-end preset, and you'll see again, boom, skin is looking really nice. We'll zoom in here, show you before and after. And we're getting this literally with just one click, which is absurd. Here, Masumi doesn't have a lot of stray hairs, but there are a few. And I could tell you that doing this, again, still takes quite a bit of time. But if we go in with that remove stray hairs, we can bring this up to 100. And that process, which normally would have taken a little bit of time, is now looking pretty doggone nice, if you ask me. So high-end preset. And there was another thing that they added here within Evoto, and this was something that when I saw this, I was like, this is crazy, because this definitely would have taken me a long time. And if you retouch your photos, you're gonna see. We're gonna go to Clothes and Accessories Touch-Up. Check this out. Again, this is in beta, but look at how good this works. De-wrinkle clothing. Her pants, they have some wrinkles, right? We've been walking around doing this photo walk. This is a very natural thing that will happen, but check this out. We'll grab the slider, we'll bring this up to 100 so we could see the max effect. And literally within seconds, all of the wrinkles, look how absurdly crazy this is with AI. Before, after. It's like, I don't know. Leave a like on this video if you're finding this to be as crazy as I'm finding it to be, because oftentimes I feel like this is the crux of, like, this is what holds us back from maybe delivering photos on time to a model. They don't realize that, like, this takes time normally to do this through dodge and burn, through clone stamp tool, through healing brush. Like, all of this stuff takes time just to get, a photo looking like polished, make it look good. And in this case, we've added that preset, which took care of the dodging and burning, took care of the blemishes, all of it in one click, took care of the hair with one slider, and look at all the wrinkles that we got rid of in the pants. And it looks, I'll zoom in here actually so you could see this. I mean, it does a fantastic job. It's not like you can still see the texture in the fabric. It doesn't appear to be something that was faked, which is really awesome. And let me tell you, between the hair and the clothing wrinkles, just doing those two things saves you a bunch of time. We're gonna move on to our third photograph. So once again, we'll select our high-end preset. Now it's applied the high-end retouch. Okay, there's the before, there's the after. And this is a raw image, by the way. The first two photographs were JPEGs. We're working with a raw right now, so we can see what that looks like. That skin radiance slider, again, we'll bring it up all the way, and you'll see that at 100, it's too much. We're losing the effect of the light, but let's bring it down a little bit, maybe to something like a 20. Actually, it looks pretty good. It's not changing the color too much, which is great. And again, if you wanted to change that, you know, we can make adjustments to the skin tones. So if I wanted it to be a little bit cooler, to be more like the, or actually a little bit different because it's more greenish, right? So if we want to go back to that kind of original tone and color, we could do that. But I actually like the way that it looks where it's a little bit blue. That looks cool. So we have that. The other thing we could do, and there's a lot of tools here, like so many tools. You can go into the eyes, for example. You can add brightness or darken the subject's eyes. So in this case, we'll add, that might be a little bit much, but let's see. We'll zoom in. Here's before, here's the after, and we're just looking at the eyes. You can see it's brightening that up quite a bit. That might still be a bit much. So maybe something subtle, right? Let's bring it to maybe 26. We'll zoom out. That actually looks really nice. If the person you're photographing, if they have eye veins, that's another thing that oftentimes takes a lot of time. You can remove eye veins with just the slider, which is really nice. And I talk about catch lights a lot in my photos. Of course, I'm very intentional when I take a photograph to make sure that there are already existing catch lights. But it does happen where certain situations you may not have catch lights in the photograph. So with AI, you could actually add different catch lights and different styles to your photograph. And then you could actually adjust the amount, like how bright it is, how it's showing up in your photograph so that it looks a little bit more natural. In this case, these are general. We can go into indoors, and you could add those catch lights if you felt like, you know, you either didn't capture it or maybe the catch lights that you got just weren't very visible in the photograph. You could just kind of add one in post, and that looks pretty cool as well. So I'm going to take that off because I've already got catch lights. I photographed it intentionally with it, but if you're the type of person that maybe you don't think about those things, you could definitely add that in post. The stray hairs, again, perfect candidate for that because we do have some stray hairs. And you're going to notice too that really quickly, remove stray hairs basically cleaned up the entire image for us, which is awesome. This is another thing that I like to use. And in the case of some of these other shoots, I've got a professional makeup artist that's there that's taking care of the makeup. But oftentimes for test shoots, the model doesn't have a makeup artist, right? They do the makeup on their own and they do the best they can. But what's really awesome is that they have this entire makeup suite where you could actually use AI to digitally apply makeup. And it's nuts that it knows like where the face is and where to apply this stuff, because I'm a dude, I don't know where all this stuff goes. If you do, that's awesome. But let's take blush, for example. This is one that I love to kind of play around with. You could actually add blush, and you see how it knows exactly where to put it, which is absolutely crazy to me. And you can recontour and just change up the person's face. Here's the before, here's the after. Very, very simple to do. They even have this face decorations feature to where she has freckles already, but let's say if we wanted to add digital freckles, because that is a thing these days, you could do that just by simply pushing a button. You know, I remember having photo shoots that I've done in the past where the makeup artist wanted to do like a freckle photo shoot, and they spent 20 or 30 minutes hand drawing freckles on a person's face. And here we are now, we could just press a button and we got freckles. It's crazy. Lipstick, same thing. If you wanted to add, and of course on this photograph, you're not going to see it as much. We'll actually go back. Let's go back to Masumi here. And if you wanted to adjust the lipstick, the color of the lipstick in these photographs, you could totally do that. There's some other tools here as well that are pretty smooth. So, you know, again, we can go into, let me go back here to background adjustment. This was one that, you know, we had some other photographs that were taken outdoors, so we didn't really have the need for this, but you could actually do some really cool things. For example, you can cut the subject out of the background with a single click. We could change the backgrounds to different colors, different textures, right? There's some additional ones here as well. So there's all sorts of just crazy things that you could do, creative things that if you want to just customize your image and just make it look, you know, make it look a little bit different, you have the ability to do that. And we're doing this all with just a single click, which is pretty awesome. So we'll go back to this. Actually, let me see. Yeah, I mean, I like it the way it is right now, but you know, again, there are some photographs where you may want to make those adjustments. If you have a photograph that has skies, you could also make those adjustments with AI using this program as well. All of that to me looks really good. You could crop your photos as well. And one other thing that you can do, we talked about all of the basic features that you can do, but this is something that I do with a lot of my photographs. If you go down to grain, oftentimes people don't realize this, but old film photographs, one of the things that made it look super awesome was that it had grain in the photographs. And somewhere along the road, we wanted to get sharp photographs, and so we focused more on that. But I had grain to every single photograph that I post online, and I was really excited to see that within Evoto, you could actually go in and you can adjust the grain. So I'm gonna zoom in here, we'll do the before and after, and you don't wanna add, I mean, you can go ham and you could just add like, you know, old newspaper style grain. That to me is a little bit heavy handed, but it's great in that you could add this grain and then you could say, okay, in the shadows, I actually want to have more grain or I want to have less grain. I can go into the midtones and do the exact same thing. You could adjust and customize the amount of grain. And the highlights, I probably don't want as much. You can bring it down. You could adjust the size and the roughness of the grain. So you could see, well, you probably can't. Let's zoom in. So this is at 100, very large size grain. And I can lower this down. So you can make adjustments to the grain and get it to look exactly the way you want it. At 30, that's the standard and it looks pretty good. You could change the roughness of the grain, which is pretty cool. And then you could also change the color variation. So there's a lot of different tweaks that you can do. It's not just, hey, we'll add grain. It's, what do you want that grain quality to look like? And you're able to do that just kind of toying around with the sliders. But it gives this like kind of filmic effect, which is really, really cool. So we'll go back here to our portrait retouching, all the changes and everything that we've applied to this. Here's the before, here's the after. And again, very simple, very quick. Same thing here. This is where we ended up before and after. And then the shot of Caitlin, hit fit here, before and after. And what we could do with these is, once we've made these adjustments, and you could do this with any photographs as you're working with them, this part of it is free. Where you end up paying or using a credit is when you export this photograph and it actually processes the photograph. That's like the finalization. It's applying these adjustments to your image. And at that point, the way that you do this is you'll go to export and you could do a quick export. I don't do it that way. I go into custom settings. And what I'll end up doing is I'll select where I want this photograph to be saved. You could actually change the naming format. So let's say if you want to have it with a special naming format because it's coming out of Evoto software, just so you know it for later, you could do that. The image format For me personally, and again, you could do this however you want, I will export my images into 16-bit TIFF files because it gives you just a really high resolution output. And this one was shot with A7R5, one was with the A9 III, and I believe the other one was also A7R5. So these are high resolution photographs that we're exporting. If you export it as a 16-bit TIFF, you're gonna get a big file that if, let's say later on down the road, you wanted to do additional work to it, the file will hold up. Like it's a big enough resolution to where it's still gonna look great. You can convert it to sRGB if you wanna do that. And as soon as I hit export, I've used the credit, right? So you could do this to a bunch of different photographs, see what it looks like. And if it looks good to you and you feel like it's a photograph that you're gonna deliver to somebody that you're working with, great. Make the adjustments, export the photo, send it off to them, and you just saved yourself a lot of time. I mean, I think you could see here that with these 3 photographs, I could have done these 3 photographs in less than a couple of minutes. And if I was to do all of that within a program like Photoshop or Lightroom or Capture One, I could have gotten a similar result, but it would have taken me a lot longer. So if you haven't already tried this, download the program using the link in my description. You're gonna get some free credits to test this out. Let me know how you like this and tag me in any photos on Instagram that you have edited using Evoto, because I would love to see the results. I would love to see the recipes that you come up with when it comes to retouching your photos. I'm loving it so far. I'm sure that you're gonna love it as well. Check it out, and I will see you in the next video.